again, everybody. So today I just wanted to do kind of a part two to my first 60s and 70s outfits video. Um, it's going to be a little shorter because these are just things I've made since then to now. And a couple of things that I made earlier that I'm just like tossing in for a little spice. But hopefully you enjoy them. Starting off with a combination of Macaws 8741 from 1967 for the pants and Simplicity 3916 from 1961 for the matching crop top. I saw Cher wearing this outfit in the 1967 movie Good Times, and I knew I had to recreate it. I stumbled across the perfect pattern for these hip hugger pants. I'm still not the best at getting pants to fit perfectly, especially through the thigh. So if you have any tips, please let me know. Can you go in through the side seams? Do you have to do it through the inner seams? I don't know. Just let me know. But I love wearing this. The eyelet ruffles are super fun to walk around in. And I'm really glad I made it. Next up, I used Simplicity 5300 from 1971 with this amazing deadstock fabric, which I found 15 yards of and got a really good deal on. I altered the tucks at the front of the bust that the pattern called for, and turned them into gathers just because I like the way that looks a little better and it's easier to control and make match perfectly. I omitted the center front seam in the skirt piece, and I think it really shows off the fabric well, the simplicity. I actually had a vintage seller at an antique mall I went to run up to me and think it was true vintage, which made me feel really good about my sewing skills. But this one's really comfortable and easy to wear. This next dress I actually had no pattern for. It was a vintage dress from the early 70s that I altered to fit me. Now, I had this dress originally in my Etsy store for probably about a year. I used to have an Etsy store, but it's kind of defunct now. This was a very, very small size, like junior size 5, which is like the smallest size they made. I kept lowering the price and nobody wanted to buy it, but I couldn't bear to just donate this dress and possibly have it end up in a landfill or something, so I removed the bodice, added 2 rows of bias binding for elastic channels, and used a little extra fabric to make shoulder strap ties. And this is really comfortable. I wear this around the house all the time, and I love this print even though it's really hard to show up on camera because it's so incredibly bright. It is neon orange, hot pink, and bright yellow. Now for Simplicity 5037 from 1963. These next few are a little earlier in the 60s than I usually go, but I just wanted to mix it up a little. I made this one a while back with some glitter gingham that I found secondhand, and I decided to make a shirtwaist dress out of it, since I have a soft spot for shirtwaist dresses. When I realized that the shape of this was very similar to a yellow dress worn by the character Betty Draper in Mad Men, I decided to make a matching bow belt to go along with it. I'm not usually the full skirt type of person, but it's still fun every once in a while, and I wore this with a matching white and pink petticoat that I found at an antique mall. With that same pattern and some old sheets again, I made a sleeveless, slimmer skirt version. I added an angled heart pocket, drafted my own sleeveless armhole facings, and I made the bodice a tiny bit too short and the belt's a little too short, so I do need to make a wider, longer belt to go along with this, but for now this works. I have lots of extra fabric, so there's plenty more where that came from. Now Simplicity 5954 from 1965. This pattern belonged to my great aunt Jane, and I love this dress. Luckily, we are the same pattern size. I just had to add a little length to the bodice, and it fits me perfectly. I also decided to add some patch pockets to the front. It looks a little shorter here than it actually is, just from the angle. I like to wear this with the same bow belt I made for the first dress. But of all my earlier 60s dresses, this is the one I reach for most. I love pink gingham, and this dress just feels the most me. Next up, I have Butterick 6551 from 1971. I used some leftover fabric, some cotton fabric I used in 2 dresses in my first video like this. And I made this collared long sleeve dress. I think I was subconsciously inspired by Trixie Mattel for this because this totally reminds me of something she would wear. I think if I make this again, I'm going to lengthen the little front ties at the wrap part. And I do need to add some snaps to the front of this skirt because when you sit down, it does want to fly open. So heads up if you're making this one. But I love the color combination I chose, and this feels really comfortable on. I did end up making facings instead of a continuous lap for the sleeves though, because I'm not really great at continuous laps. That's my sewing kryptonite. Now with Butterick 6683 from 1973, another favorite of mine. Now with this one, I only used my boyfriend's old t-shirts. So I lengthened the bodice part a little bit. I added some back ties and a center front seam because I couldn't quite fit the whole front skirt part on t-shirts. This was more of an experiment. The collar did come out a tiny bit wonky. But I ended up dyeing it yellow to match some Mary Janes I got for Christmas this year, and this is a really great dress to wear on the house. Next up is Butterick 4882 from 1975, I believe. Now this one was also done using only leftover worn out t-shirts of my boyfriend's. This one I dyed purple and painted a little purple daisy on the front just for a little detail. It's not perfect, but this is an around the house thing and it's recycled. You can wear it tied in the back or in the front is what the pattern suggests. I would say if you make this to add a little length to the top strap because this is pretty low even for me and I'm very tall. Now with Macaws 3502 from 1973. Again, this is probably one of my favorite patterns. I took another old sheet and I made this long sleeve mini dress. Once again, I lowered the neckline and the tucks and the ties a little. I added some length to the sleeves, and I ended up using some crochet lace trim at the neckline and along the sleeve ruffles for a little detail. I love to wear this with my brown suede lace-up boots, and this one I can actually wear in colder weather too, with some layers and some thicker tights. I have worn this for Thanksgiving, and this one's really comfortable, and this also works for cooler summer days when you need some sleeves. I love this print though, it's like a faux cross stitch. So that's everything this time. I hope you liked everything. I have lots more ideas, not just for projects but also for videos. Project-wise, I need to make a tunic top and pants set. I need to make a long sleeve maxi dress for like the spring and fall. I'm probably going to do another video similar to these, but for warmer weather clothes at some point. So I'm looking forward to that. I also want to do a just kind of showing my entire vintage collection because for years before I learned how to sew, I was just a vintage collector of clothing, accessories, all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to do a video just sharing my favorite things from my true vintage collection. And I also want to do a video of shopping for vintage clothing when you're tall, because there's a lot of tips and tricks that I have learned from experience over the years that I think could be helpful to other people in the same body type, maybe. And I've got lots of ideas for projects. I want to recreate a swimsuit that my grandma had in the 50s. I have some really great vintage fabrics I haven't cut into yet because I want to make like a bell sleeve dress and some other things. So if you feel like sticking around, subscribe. I would love to have you here. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. It means the world to me, and every time somebody comments or subscribes, it just puts a smile on my face and makes my day. So thank you so much for everything. If you have any other video ideas or things you'd like to see, let me know. And hopefully you have a absolutely beautiful day, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Thank you. You are not invited to this party.